Oh, yeah. All right. Welcome back with another Mary True Talks. All right. So, before we begin, ladies and gentlemen, 90% of y'all love to watch me rant and curse and scream, but for some reason, you don't subscribe. Click that subscribe button. It really helps the show grow. Oh man. All right. So, what else was I gonna say? Oh yeah. Follow me on X, Instagram, TikTok, all those social media accounts. Specifically Instagram. That's what I use the most. That's Mary_truths with an S. That's Mary_truths with an S. And to those of you who are Patreon members, I appreciate you guys for the love and support. Thank you so much for believing in us. I'm going to be rolling out Politically Controversial, which is a online store. And thanks to you guys, I'm going to be able to get that started. So thank you guys so much for your support. If you want to support us monetarily, join our Patreon account. It's $5 a month. What's on there is not anything related to this. It's really just workouts because that's my passion. I like exercising. I like motivating people to care about their health and their well-being because at the end of the day, that is what matters. And if we are healthy, then we won't have to, pay so much money for insurance. So, and enrich insurance companies. I think what matters is our health. And, the healthier we are, the less we have to care about our health in the future. So that's pretty much what that Patreon is all about. I am building an app though for my wellness platform, which hopefully will be done by next year, God willing. But thank you guys so much for supporting. I appreciate you. And like I said, click that subscribe button. It really helps the show grow. All right, so I'm a little fancy today. I decided to drink water on a wine glass because why not? All right, so let's get started. All right, so DSA candidate won in Michigan primaries. Pretty fascinating stuff. Let's take a look at that together and react to this very predictable but not really win.
Now to some political news now. Abdul Al-Sayed, that's the Democratic nominee for U.S. Senate, he said he's spoken to Barack Obama and he hopes that the former president will campaign with him. Al-Sayed hopes to unite the Democratic Party after a close primary that some progressives and moderates are distancing themselves from. Al-Sayed faces Republican Mike Rogers, a former congressman who narrowly lost the Senate race to Democrat Alyssa Slotkin back in 2024.
All right, so that's pretty much what happened. So he won the primaries for the Democrat candidate of Michigan in the Senate. He is a Muslim. Don't think that's the issue for anybody who thinks that's a problem. Freedom of religion, it's not an issue. I don't care that he's a Muslim. What I care about is that homeboy is a socialist, as now he's pretending to be a capitalist when he's been saying this whole time that he's a socialist. But because he knows it's not going to win in the national election, he's rolling it back. But whatever, you can't roll back what you've already said, homeboy. At least not to those who don't have amnesia. All right, which I hope it's most of people in Michigan. But I want to really quick watch this. This is him with Meet the Press. I think this is the one where she kind of presses him on him wanting to increase taxes. Let me see here.
And joining me now is Michigan's Democratic Senate nominee, Abdul Al-Sayed. Dr. Al-Sayed, welcome to Meet the Press.
That's not even his real name, by the way.
Thanks for having me.
I can't pronounce it.
Thank you so much for being here and congratulations. Let's talk about your victory this week. You narrowly defeated Congresswoman Haley Stevens. And when you actually add up all of the votes, the vote totals that went to Stevens and Mallory McMorrow, a majority of voters actually ended up voting for candidates who are more moderate than you.
Gee, I wonder why.
How do you win over those voters who voted for someone else?
Yeah, how do you win those voters?
Well, thank you, Kristen. I really were just grateful for everybody who participated. And the overwhelming recognition of the vote tallies is that 500,000 more Democrats voted than did Republicans in that election. If that happens, we are going to
That's
win
normal.
in a landslide.
The
Now,
Republicans
I know
are the
that
ones
we
technically
had it
governing
out with
right
a
now.
very tough primary. There were a lot of issues that were discussed and differences that were identified and fixated on. But I will tell you this, that all of us agree that our differences are far smaller than what we agree on. And what we agree on is that Donald Trump has been an existential threat to our democracy. He is costing us jobs. He is costing us more at almost every aspect of our lives, whether it's our gas, our groceries, or our healthcare. And that Mike Rogers is going to be nothing more than a rubber stamp
what does
on
Trump have
Donald
to do
Trump's
with healthcare?
disastrous economic and foreign policies. And so this is the opportunity for us to come together, to mend fences, to build together the coalition that is going to defeat Mike Rogers in November and defeat Trumpism over the next 2 years.
Let me ask you about some news that we are learning this morning. Local outlets reporting that you spoke to former President Barack Obama on the phone.
All right, so can we skip to like the part where she's kind of talking to him about increasing taxes? I didn't really put a timestamp, so just skip. See what he says
what we need to do to be able to win. And obviously, this is somebody who knows a lot about winning Michigan.
Just to be...
Okay, keep going.
Support.
Well, Kristen, I've been up and down my state. And everywhere I go, people say the same things. It just shouldn't be this hard. And one of the big things that they bring up is the fact that they're worried about having to see a doctor if they get sick.
Right here.
And what that's
perfect.
will mean for them. The median deductible, meaning the money that you pay to get the health care you already thought you paid for every single month, is about $4,500 for a family of four. That, considering the fact that the median income is about $80,000, means that you're going to lose more than a whole paycheck just to actually pay for the health care you thought you already paid for. Our system has only gotten less and less effective, less efficient over time as we've watched health insurance
which, by the way,
corporations
Democrats are the
collude
ones
with
who
big
passed.
hospitals and the pharmaceutical industry to figure out how to pick more and more of our dollars out of our pocket to put into theirs.
That's what Democrats do. They
we have
tax
an
more and more.
opportunity to guarantee cradle-to-grave health care from the moment that somebody is born to the moment that they expire, God willing, at 120 years of life after a long, healthy life in their sleep peacefully. And it would guarantee them the health care that they need independent of the circumstances, wherever they need to go. That is the kind of security we've never had in this country, and it's the kind of security that the healthcare corporations have denied us. So we're watching more people support Medicare for All every day. We're watching more elected officials support Medicare for All every day. And in a lot of ways, this campaign was a referendum on whether or not we want health care.
It really wasn't. It was a narrow defeat.
Else. And I think the Michigander, the Michigan voter chose health care.
There's a higher chance of you losing in the national election.
Though, you can only make Medicare free and universal if you increase taxes.
Exactly.
So if you are elected and make this push, would you need to increase taxes?
Watch, he doesn't answer the question.
As I've said across this campaign, I am for taxing billionaires their wealth.
What about people
That's not the question, though. They're not the only ones that are going to get taxed.
Dr. El-Sayed, what about people making less than $1 million?
Exactly.
So for the average person, and you look at your W-2, if you're an employee who gets paid every 2 weeks or 4 weeks, after you pay your taxes, the next biggest check that comes off the top of your pay stub is to your health insurance company. So imagine instead of paying that to your health insurance company, whose CEO makes $20 million a year, instead you paid a little bit more in taxes.
A little bit more.
Healthcare that you wouldn't lose if you lost your job or turned 26 or got married or got divorced. I think all of us would be a lot more interested in that kind of a system if we knew that our healthcare would be free at the point of care and would be free.
Can you stop right there?
Without having.
He just said, yes, I am for increasing your taxes, and the money that you pay will go to the government that will guarantee you better health care. This is the part that I find so offensive. These people think we are stupid, and we don't understand that the more money we give to the government, the less they actually work for us. And instead of it's us work for them. Because most programs we pay for don't even work properly. For example, the public school system. We pay on average, like what was the cost? Like after COVID, it was like $12,000 to $13,000 per child, and yet we're dumber. Or let's talk about the fact that when it comes to the police, if you're in a city where there's a lot of crime, usually Democrat governed cities. There's a lot of crime. You're paying into the system where you're supposed to be able to get the police if you call 911, and the police, if there's high crime in the area, which again, cities, that's usually what happens, they take 15, 20 minutes to get to you. Same thing goes for the ambulance. So when it comes to these public services that we pay into, they're not quality services. So this idea that these people have that, oh, well, you know, the money that you're paying into right now to these private corporations, you know, these greedy CEOs are making so much money because, you know, they own the company and their company has value, hence why they make so much money. If they didn't have value, the CEOs wouldn't be millionaires or multimillionaires. They're millionaires and multimillionaires because there's value in the business that they created. But I digress. The private companies, they're claiming they're doing a worse job than the government. There's no case in history that a government program has done better or has given better quality service than a private company. Zero. And this guy is straight up lying to Michigan people or Michigans or however they call themselves and saying, no. If you pay more, which is going to be a lot more, it's not going to be a little bit more. He says, no, it's going to be a little bit more. No, bullshit. Government taxes the crap out of you, okay? Because they love to steal from you to get bigger and bigger and bigger. So it's not just a little bit, it's a lot. It's going to be probably 10 to 20% more than what you're paying to a private company for better healthcare that you know damn right you're not going to get, because it's already been proven that when it comes to government programs, they're not quality services. Look at the VA. We're paying for the VA and veterans aren't getting the care they're supposed to be getting. So if you just go down the line of every public service that we pay into, it's garbage. And it's more expensive and it takes way more funding than private companies doing the same exact service. So no, this guy's a liar, and all he's trying to do is steal from Michigan people. That's all these people know how to do. And what I think is hilarious is that these are the same people that say, oh, we really care about the working class. This guy's not part of the working class. He's never been part of the working class. He's an academic. If you're an academic or if you're in academia, you're not part of the working class. The working class people, by definition, is people that work with their hands or with their feet. It's people that actually do things. Like a business person is a working class person, unless you're obviously making millions. But if you are a trucker and you own a company, it's a small company, but you're still a trucker, that's a working class person. Even if you're making, let's say, $100,000 a year, you're still driving one of those trucks, you're a working class person. Somebody who owns a restaurant and works in the restaurant is still a working class person. So these people are not working class people. They can't even relate to the working class because they've never been a part of the working class. The only person that I could actually have some respect for that was part of the working class once upon a time was AOC. That's it. But this guy right here, his hands have no calluses. He's never done anything hard in his life, and he claims he can relate to the working class. I mean, you tell me, if you went straight from academia into politics, what do you know about the working class? Let me know what you think about that. All right, so let's go to the next one. AOC is now rolling back her radical ideas. This is kind of weird. So we're going to watch this video, but not all in full. It's going to be in snippets. So start with 12:24-ish, and I'll tell you when to stop, and then we'll start again when Jennings starts talking.
The candidates that were endorsed by Mayor Mamdani, two of whom were challenging sitting members of Congress, powerful members of Congress, Democrats, and you decided to sit that one out. Is that part of?
I wonder why.
Work with your colleagues that are in the House? I mean, what's the?
Yeah, I think we're all in different. Politics is also a workplace, and we're all in different positions to that. I endorsed, for example, in New York, on the state level, I endorsed a slate of challengers to incumbents in the Assembly and in the Senate. And I don't work in state government, which gives me a greater freedom to be able to do that and to assess it. And I'm very grateful, that we now have a progressive movement that is in large enough numbers that, it used to be that you could fit 5 people in a closet, and that was the caucus. And now we've grown into quite a successful movement.
So you have Wisconsin coming up next. Francesca Hong, who is the Democratic Socialists of America supported candidate for governor. You haven't endorsed her. Are you going to?
No, I haven't endorsed in that race. My focus has been in winning back the Congress, winning back the House, and positioning ourselves to have the best chance possible to win the Senate. So I've been focused on those legislative races.
What do you make of those controversial statements? I'm sure you've seen. I mean, she's, the Thanksgiving dust up. She says she doesn't, still believe that, but the abolished prisons, abolished police, which is also positions that have been taken by a lot of the progressive candidates who have won.
Look at her. She's like,
how do you get around that? I mean, those are not positions that are supported by.
Right. I mean, I think that a lot of these races, even right now, they'll have a tendency to be nationalized.
Yeah.
But these races ultimately are local, and all politics are local. My understanding is that Francesca Hong has made clear her present stances to her electorate.
Yeah, she's moved away from a lot
right,
of that.
she's moved away from it.
Conveniently, she's moved away from it because she knows
that
she's not going to win like that.
Has this saying woke one was crazy.
You're still crazy, but
okay. And I think that what's important is that we have to assess what
was it. I mean, did the movement go too
now.
far with some of those positions? I mean, you briefly supported the idea of defunding the police.
Well, I think that
I like this guy.
During this time, and especially during COVID, there was a huge opening of the Overton window. We were shut down. There was some of the highest unemployment rates that we have seen because of those shutdowns.
Yeah.
And I think that the doors were really open in trying to entertain any and every policy that was going to get us to a better place. And I actually think that the discussions that were had in that time were quite fruitful. I think that when we talk about crime today, it's fundamentally different than the way that we talked about crime in bringing crime
really
down,
quick?
right?
So this is what I'm gathering from this. So during COVID, they decided they were going to be as radical as possible, and hoping that would stick during COVID, because that was their in. Like, oh my God, everybody's in fear. Everybody, when you're in fear, you make stupid, desperate decisions, and that's when they took the opportunity. And they pretty much started saying as much crap as possible to see what stuck. And now that people are going back to sanity, they're rolling back. Oh no, now we don't really think like that anymore, But they still do think like that. The only reason why they're rolling back is because people are realizing these people are fucking crazy. But let's continue, because she continues to get exposed.
And I think that we all share in the goals of having as low a crime rate as possible. I think that...
I don't think so.
Actually, during lockdown,
I don't think you understand
rhetoric
what that
in
means
that time
in real
is not rhetoric that we would use today. And I'm grateful that these candidates have the opportunity to present who they are to their electorate and what they're campaigning on in this moment.
Because and obviously the Democratic Socialists of America are having quite a moment. But you know how Republicans are responding. Let me just give you a brief sampling.
Sure.
Let's call it what it is. It's communism.
The Commie Caucus is coming to Congress.
Communism is on the ballot this November.
We're not going to turn this country into a communist experiment.
Well, you can kind of get a sense of the theme, and obviously the president has said the same thing. But by the way, just a quick definitional thing. What, in your mind, is the difference between socialism and communism?
Oh, this is good.
I think, to me, the fundamental differences, there's many. One prevailing one is democracy.
Oh, really?
And I believe that
there's democracy and socialism.
Democratic socialists are fundamentally pro-democracy, and we believe in the ballot box. We believe in respecting the outcomes of elections and governing democratically. and ensuring that the ideas and policies that are implemented are won through popular vote and popular opinion. And so I think that's why so much of what we focus on is also making sure that we are providing for the majority of Americans, guaranteeing health care, raising wages, strengthening the right to a union. And I think that that's at its core what we're about.
Are you still a member of Democratic Socialists of America?
Of the New York City chapter.
The New York City chapter, not the national?
No.
And what's the difference?
So every DSA chapter is formed locally.
Yeah.
And so the New York City DSA chapter, those are folks that you know. It's kind of like your local union chapter.
Yeah.
And yeah.
So, because I know there was that strange moment in 2024 when the national chapter took away your endorsement.
Yes.
But I was looking through the DSA program, and this is the national program. I'm sure you've seen the document. It was adopted just a few months ago. But some of the positions here: defund the Department of Defense, close overseas military bases, abolish the police and prison system, grant amnesty to all immigrants in the U.S., replace the Supreme Court and executive judiciary with chosen by lower to Congress, abolish the Senate, public ownership of corporations and essential industries. I mean, those are some positions that you're going to be hearing a lot about this fall from Republicans.
And I think we're also going to be hearing a lot about Donald Trump's commitment to getting us into a reckless war in Iran.
Notice that she completely pivoted from that and went to Trump.
Big companies to make sure that everything from groceries to rent stay sky high. And I think that people are
that has nothing to do with Trump.
Academic debates.
Rent has to do with the way your state is governing the state.
And make sure that they can afford to see a doctor.
But do you see, I mean, are those positions you support?
Yeah, exactly.
No,
Put it back there.
I think that this is a free country.
How do you not support them if you just said you're part of the DSA in New York?
You're free to do what you like.
Can you pause?
All
right, she's fucking lying. You can't say, yeah, I'm part of the New York DSA caucus, but I don't support the DSA's referendum, pretty much. Yes, you do. You just don't want to say it because you're trying to run for president. But we remember how radical you were, lady. You act like we have amnesia. And this lady, she wants to talk about socialist democracies. Denmark, Norway, Finland, Sweden, Iceland, Netherlands, Switzerland. You want to know what all these places have in common? They're all white. They're all white demographic for the most part. I mean, maybe there are some, brown people in there, but the majority of people that live in these places are white. And they're also this big compared to the United States of America. So demographic means everybody culturally is aligned, which makes things a lot easier when it comes to governing. That's one. I don't care how that may sound, if that sounds racial or anything. I don't care. And when it comes to the size of the country, that also makes a big difference too. And on top of that, all these countries, they're taxed heavily. So she talks about, we want stronger unions. Okay, what that means subliminally is I want to pretty much tell public companies what to do and how to hire and how much to pay them. That's what she means by stronger unions. When she says, I want people to get higher wages, what she really means is I want to destroy small businesses. Because if you're a small business who can only afford to pay your employees $12 an hour, this bitch is going to tell you, no, sorry, the living wage is $20. And if you can't afford it, well, you're going to have to close down. Sorry. So then the people that are going to get screwed are the small business owners. This lady doesn't know anything about economics. And it's crazy because it's basic stuff. It's not like you need to go to school for this. But apparently, a lot of people don't know about economics. I have a friend of mine who literally told me the other day, and I was baffled by this. But, this is what public education does, guys, which is, again, something that we pay for and it clearly has very bad results. My friend was telling me that he believed that if people want a product, if there's a high demand for a good or a service, then the person who's giving the service or the seller drops down their prices. And I'm like, no, if there's a high demand for goods and services, that good and service goes up in price, because if there's a high demand for something, the value of that something goes up, hence the rate goes up. I don't know why people think that because there's a high demand, the price goes down. The price does not go down. Just giving you a heads up, the price, for the most part, does not go down, because that defeats the whole profit. You got to make money, right? So why would you lower the price? You're trying to make profit. You're trying to make a margin here. It doesn't make sense to lower the profit just because there's a high demand. So basic demand and supply here, guys, which unfortunately many people don't understand, which is a failure in the public education system. And I didn't learn this in school. I learned this after dropping out of college, actually, funny enough, just going out of my way to learning about economics. So, which most people should just go out of their way to learn about, because if you don't know basic economics, I'm not talking about like learning like, the intricacies of like the stock market or anything. I'm not going that deep. It's not that deep. I just want to understand supply and demand and why things go up and why things go down. That's it. Once you understand that, you won't fall for any of these people lying to you. A, because they don't really know what they're saying. It just sounds good. And so because it sounds good, they're rolling with it. And two, they're hoping to God you don't know basic economics to believe it. That's it. That's all that's going on right now. So, but like, I don't know. Some people will believe whatever they want to believe. I think that if you follow me, if you haven't subscribed, click that subscribe button. If you follow my channel, if you follow me on Instagram, Mary_Truths, then you are a truth seeker just like me, and you don't want to be deceived by these psychopaths. Can you go to the next one here? No. Stay on that video and go to Jennings. Yeah, go back to that video. Remember I told you that video is going to be in
debates,
weird.
and they're more interested in how we're going to
pause that. Yeah, go to Jennings. So keep going. Keep going all the way at the end.
All the way at the end?
Yeah, okay, so yeah, that's Jennings. Keep going back. No, Jennings. You know what Jennings is? Oh, well, this is going to be difficult. The white dude with a beard. So at the end. Oh, wait, no, I think you're at the right spot. Okay, just there. Yeah, I'll tell you where to. Yeah, that guy. Okay, there. So just press play and see what he says.
This year, and they are a little upset with congressional leaders over the SAVE Act is one thing, and
Okay,
they see Trump
so
fighting for that.
that's so find where he's talking before that. So I think I have it here. I'm here like making you struggle. 2731.
Right?
Okay, so that's
not on the end. That's in the middle.
oh,
So I'm like, what are you talking?
JK, sorry. It looks different on my tablet. Yeah, there you go.
Of course, and it would be an honest thing to do because that's what it is. And with all due respect to my friend Donna, there's nothing like, you can't draw any equivalence between the Tea Party movement and the socialists. For one,
Yeah, definitely
Tea
not.
Party folks weren't trying to bring about the downfall of Western civilization
Facts.
and the United States of America. Abolish the police, abolish ICE, abolish borders, abolish the Senate, abolish the Constitution. I mean, there was nothing like this in the Republican Party. So it's an extreme political ideology that is gaining traction. The Democrat leadership has lost control. They know it. And people like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Hong in Wisconsin, Abdul El Sayed in Michigan. You talk about the Big Tent. The Democrat Jewish Attorney General of Michigan cannot even go to her party's nominating convention because she says, I won't be safe there because of the supporters of Abdul El Sayed. You can't draw any equivalence between what happened in the Republican Party with the resurgence of patriot conservatives versus these anti-American radicals.
Yeah, look, and I listened really carefully to what Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez said this morning. You know, every position that Scott just laid out, when you presented it to her, She talked about backing off, changing her views, evolving views.
Woke one was crazy.
Woke one was crazy, which we never heard her say before. Look, I think the congressman put it correctly, that there's two parts to this. It's what are you talking about, and do we trust what you're saying?
Exactly.
And after listening to the congresswoman, why should anyone trust her?
Yep.
The things that she has said previously now, when she senses that she didn't know what she was talking about, and she was out of touch and with the American people, and now wants to advance her career, now all of a sudden she's saying different things.
Exactly.
And I have to say, when you played the Francisca Hong part, I can tell you this, the Republican Governors Association is giddy over what will happen on Tuesday, because we're going to hold people like her and the Congresswoman to what they've said over their careers, not what they're trying to conveniently evolve into now.
Exactly. That's it.
There are two important days in November. One is...
Yeah, exactly. 100%. I agree with you, Krispy Kreme. I agree with you. That's what they were calling him when he was running for president. And it may be mean, but it's funny and it's Doug, so I call him Krispy Kreme. And he might just appreciate that because he likes it. Yeah, we're done with this one. But I agree with that. Let me know if you agree or disagree. I actually listen to the comments I get when I make these clips. Let's move on to the next one. RFK on CNN. This guy went bonkers. I talked about this on Instagram, and I'll get a little more deeper here really quick. Let's take a look at this.
Nearly all the blame on the COVID pandemic and the way
Dana
that the
Bash.
U.S. responded to it squarely with Dr. Fauci. But of course, he worked for President Trump. Does President Trump also deserve some of the blame?
Of course, he has to get blamed for everything.
President Trump, as you recall, wanted to end the lockdowns. I think the thing that did the most damage to our country was the lockdowns. The lockdowns that shut down 3.5 million businesses in our country with no due process, no just compensation. All of our churches closed, our schools, and our children are still paying the price for that. And yet we had the worst outcome of any country in the world.
How so?
We have the highest death rate from COVID of any nation on earth.
Well, let me just say, because I've heard you say that before on the death rate from COVID. That's not accurate because public health experts say that there is a combination of factors.
They
that went
love
into
to
that.
quote
Higher
experts,
rates
the
of
same
chronic
ones that lied
illnesses,
to us
which I
about
know you would
COVID.
agree with, gaps to our
And the
healthcare
vaccine.
system, and misinformation about vaccines.
Oh, misinformation.
You
The
just
same
said
thing
what
you
I
do.
said was
You did
inaccurate. What I
throughout the
said was
entire
accurate.
COVID pandemic.
We have the highest death rate from COVID of any place.
There are other countries that had higher, but
You can argue
go ahead.
about why we had that, but nobody can tell you. I mean, we have, as you say, we have the highest chronic disease burden in the world. But Anthony Fauci was mismanaging the COVID pandemic, and he was doing it under the Biden administration. President Trump wanted to end the lockdowns.
Yep.
And in fact, in Anthony Fauci's diaries, he talks about how President Trump is calling him every day, trying to get him to reopen the country.
Yeah, well, the lockdowns were done by governors. I mean, certainly
That
Anthony
we're
Fauci
getting
and the
advice
president
from
had
Fauci.
opinions, but the lockdowns were done by governors, and
They were
largely
doing it-
largely because
Anthony
they were
Fauci.
hearing from hospitals saying that their ICUs were overrun and they needed some help while that was happening.
Well, that's
but
not true. That's just not true.
It is
what
true.
you're saying is not true. No, they were doing it because Anthony Fauci was telling them from the top,
Exactly.
you need to lock down. There were ICUs that were empty all over the country, including in New York at the height.
I'm asking you, I'm going to go back to what I asked you at the beginning, which is President Trump. And he was the guy in charge. And you tweeted back in 2024 that he let bureaucrats like Anthony Fauci shut down the entire country. Again, the president was in charge.
The president was trying to reopen the country when he left. The country was kept closed for another year, almost a year and a half after that.
Let's talk about how to prevent the next pandemic, because there's a lot of litigating and relitigating that I don't think is really helpful to do with regard to COVID. And the question is about so-called gain of function, which for people who aren't entirely clear about it, it is a highly risky research process that includes manipulating a virus to study how it behaves as it evolves. Now, what scientists say is that although it's controversial, it's necessary to prepare for the next pandemic, to get ahead of it, to figure out what these viruses can do. You want to end this gain-of-function research. Some scientists say, isn't it better just to put better guardrails around it?
People have been trying to put guardrails around it for generations, and it hasn't worked. And clearly, COVID-19 pandemic and many other global pandemics that we have come from gain-of-function research. The RSV epidemic that we have, that is the biggest killer of kids in this country today, came from these kind of experiments. The Lyme disease almost certainly came from this kind of research. So, and the scientists who you say are experts are making the argument that this is necessary for pandemic response, cannot point to one instance in history where research that came out of this kind of experimentation has actually provided us something beneficial.
So how do you prepare then? How do you prepare for the next pandemic? I mean, that's literally part of your job now, because experts think it's going to happen within the next 10 years again.
Yeah, I mean, I think
the fact that they're already talking about another pandemic tells you everything, bro.
What we need to do is we need to listen to what's happening.
It tells you that there's an agenda.
There are 15 million frontline physicians around the world. They're mainly now connected through the internet. We can tell on the front lines what's working and what's not. If we had listened to those doctors during the COVID pandemic, we would have saved potentially millions of lives.
Yep.
There were therapeutics out there that were working. There were doctors that were having no deaths from COVID and treating, in some cases, thousands of patients. And we weren't listening to them. Instead, we were doing the opposite. We were shutting them down. And then, Dana, the other thing that I would say is that we need to protect our constitutional rights. That is the primary obligation of our country.
Mean?
What do you mean? What does that mean?
During COVID, we completely dismantled our constitutional rights. We began censoring people in violation of the First Amendment.
But you're saying what not to do. I'm asking what to do.
He already answered your question. You're not listening. He said, listen to the people that are actually on the ground, the doctors on the ground. That's what he just said. Listen to what he's saying, lady. That's your fucking job.
I'm asking about a potential.
That's your only job, is to listen.
That is coming.
And report.
And one of the mistakes we made in the last time was suppressing those rights so people weren't being heard.
Exactly.
The doctors who were saying you're doing it wrong were being marginalized and vilified.
Yeah.
And
because again, I really want to move on.
Yeah, I'm totally against censorship. Because I am a Marxist.
No, I wasn't part of the problem.
There was absolute press malpractice. You weren't allowing your
Mr. Secretary,
your job
is
a fierce skepticism toward authority. And you weren't doing that. You were beating up
My job
people
is also
who were dissenting.
No. Okay, are you want to sit here and attack me, or do you want to have
conversations? Yeah, you should be attacked because you're part of the problem.
I'm not attacking you. I'm asking questions about how
you lied to people during COVID. You should be attacked. You should also be in jail.
But I also don't want to use this interview to allow you to say things that aren't entirely true.
Oh, really? Which is what you did during COVID? You said things that were completely false through the entire time.
Worked. The COVID vaccine prevented
There's no
deaths.
proof
There
of
is
that.
Data upon data upon data.
No, there isn't. She doesn't give any data, by the way. She says data upon data upon data and says no actual data.
In the U.S.
protected children.
I think that what I have talked to scientists and doctors about.
Scientists. Can you show me one study?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
That shows that
looks at her papers,
were protected by the
but
COVID
says nothing.
I can tell you that
there vaccine did more good than harm to children. Can you show me one study that shows that?
I can tell you that when it comes to the vaccine, there have been studies that show that because of vaccine disinformation, there could have been 100 to 200,000 lives.
You don't know that.
Saved.
Where are you coming up with this number?
Didn't get the vaccine. That's why I'm not saying that it entirely.
You
let
are
me finish.
saying
Let me
nonsense.
finish.
You are
Exactly.
saying something that you cannot show me.
Okay.
A single study
I am
that
not
says
saying
that.
nonsense.
You are
I
saying
am
nonsense.
What
Excuse
somebody
me.
told
And you're
you.
defending
Excuse
Fauci.
me.
And you
Let me.
cite me the study.
What study? No, what
Cite
studies
me
are
the
you
study.
talking about? You're talking about studies that actually don't exist. I want to talk about.
Cite me the
I am
study.
not.
You mean you're the one doing that? You're talking about data, all data, and you're not showing him any data.
This is not productive. I am not here to defend all of the.
You are exactly what you're doing. You are defending. That's exactly what you're doing.
I call you on them. You're telling me that I'm arguing.
Okay,
with
do you want to talk about assertions that you can't support? I'll get there in a second. Let me just say, for the record, that I am not saying that the entire way that the COVID reaction was accurate. It was a scary time, and people made mistakes. Absolutely.
Mistakes is an understatement.
Why are you saying that?
Because that was the job of CNN.
Exactly.
Okay.
Was to put
Okay,
the
stop.
chyrons up
Okay,
about
stop.
how many people are
We
dying.
were trying to
To
be.
get people-
We
No,
were
you were
listening
fear-mongering
to the
people and scaring
leaders
people to
in
death
this
is what you were
country,
doing.
including the president, who had a daily press conference explaining what was going on and trying to listen.
Were you listening?
I want to talk to measles.
Actually, were you reading the
The
science
measles
yourself?
measles cases in the U.S. just reached
right.
a 35-year
That's
high.
it. So, it continues on by him pretty much saying that she is responsible for what happened during COVID, she and CNN. And the reason why they had him on, in my opinion, is because every single big media platform that pushed misinformation and massive fear porn during COVID will get sued. In fact, Florida is already starting, among other Republican states, to sue Fauci. And they're going to end up also probably suing CNN. And that's probably why they had RFK on. And I'm not the only one who's saying this. Tom Ellsworth on PBD said something very similar to what I'm saying right now. And I 100% agree with him, because what a coincidence that they happen to have RFK on right after Fauci said 111 times, I plead the fifth, when he was just talking a big game on MS Now and ABC and all these leftist news outlets before his congressional hearing. Oh, I got nothing to hide. I'm going to be able to say whatever I'm going to say what I need to say, and they're going to try to attack me, but there's nothing to attack. And then when he's finally there, I plead the fifth, I plead the fifth, I plead the fifth. And now these people, because they literally were defending Fauci through and through, no matter what, even with this guy, you can clearly tell this guy's lying. This guy's guilty as hell. You can tell he did shady stuff. You can tell that he did things are completely immoral, and he's responsible for many people dying. A lot of blood is on his hands, and these people defended him, and you're still defending him. So that's literally what this is all about. This is to prevent lawsuits, and it's not going to work, in my opinion. CNN is probably going to get sued. This is not a fact. This is a prediction. I predict CNN is probably going to get sued, among every single other news outlet that purposely was putting out massive fear on their audience and saying science is truth, this is a time to obey. And I literally put like all the highlights of a bunch of stuff that they did say on my Instagram. If you want to go and check it out, it's one of the last reels I did, Mary_truths, because this is like crazy that these people, after all this time, it's been like what, 6-7 years already since COVID, after all this time, they still don't want to admit they were part of the problem. Because if they do, then they have to be held accountable. You're going to be held accountable anyway. Because at the end of the day, you knew what you were doing and you did it regardless. Because your team was in charge and you didn't care what the consequences would be. The fact that they were saying you should be terrified of COVID, you should be living in fear. I remember that. I'm never going to forget what the media did under COVID. I'm never going to forgive. I'm never going to forget. I'm never going to forgive how people were treated and disrespected during COVID. If you didn't want to take the shot, if you didn't want to wear a mask, none of that stuff I'm going to forget. And nobody else should. And if you took the vaccine and you were injured, you definitely should not forget. And you should hold these people to the fire, because at the end of the day, they are responsible, because they were pushing a experimental vaccine that we don't know what the consequences are yet. Women that took it who are now pregnant, we don't know what the consequences of taking a vaccine and now being pregnant with a child is going to be. God forbid, I don't want anything to happen to children whose mother decided to make that choice and take a vaccine. But at the end of the day, it's an experimental vaccine that was rolled out way too soon. And the most fascinating part about all of this is that at the end of the day, they wanted this vaccine, right? Because everybody was losing their shit. They wanted this vaccine. Donald Trump was the one who got it rolled out, which I completely was against. 100% totally against it. Shouldn't have happened. You should have allowed it to happen naturally, not rolled it out so quickly. That's part of the problem. But he rolled it out because of the fear that was happening, right? And then the same people that took it are like, well, isn't he part to blame? Dude, you wanted this freaking vaccine. You wanted it like today, like yesterday. And then the same people that took the vaccine are like, well, the reason why we didn't vote for him again, even though he rolled out the vaccine and he made us feel safe and we voted for Biden, is because he didn't handle COVID correctly. He rolled out the vaccine faster than when he was supposed to, because that's what you wanted. And yet you still weren't happy with the fact that COVID wasn't handled correctly. What more did you want? It doesn't matter what he does or doesn't do. If you don't agree with Trump at all, or just his existence, you're not going to agree with anything, even if you actually appreciate that he rolled out the vaccine in order for you to be able to take it. Those who chose to vaccinate. Obviously, I did not obey, and I'm glad I did not obey. All right, so I'm going to end it here. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to talk about the In-N-Out hero. You think we have time for that? Or you... No, we're running on a tight ship today. All right, that's fine. Next week we'll talk about the hero in In-N-Out. All right, guys. So I want to do my lives every Friday from now on. However, we do get like surges in the area, like power surges. So in case we get a power surge, it will happen on Sunday. That's gonna be like the alternative date if Friday does not happen. But God willing, every Friday from now on, without power surges, we'll be going live around 7 to 8 p.m., give or take. I'll let you guys know on Instagram. Follow me, Mary_Truth on Instagram. Thank you guys so much. This is Mary Truth Talks, and I'll see you guys